He wanted peace and silence. She brought heat, sand, and royal curiosity. Marcus Reed had traveled across 17 star systems, but nothing had prepared him for the haunting beauty of Zarian. His small exploration vessel limped through the planet's atmosphere, engines sputtering from the meteor damage he'd sustained in the asteroid belt. The golden desert stretched endlessly below, punctuated by strange crystalline formations that caught the light of the planet's twin suns. He had come here seeking silence, running from the chaos of Earth's overcrowded colonies and the memories that haunted him there. His wife's death in the mining accident on Europa had left him hollow, desperate for somewhere he could exist without the constant reminder of what he'd lost. Zarian seemed perfect to inhabit it according to the star charts, beautiful in its desolation. A place where a man could disappear into the vastness and find peace. The crash landing was rougher than he'd hoped. His ship carved a deep furrow in the sand before coming to rest against a weathered stone structure that seemed to rise from the desert like a mirage. Marcus stumbled from the wreckage, his emergency beacon activated, though he wasn't sure he wanted rescue anymore. The structure before him was magnificent, carved from black stone that seemed to absorb the harsh sunlight, covered in intricate symbols that seemed to shift and dance when he wasn't looking directly at them. It was clearly artificial, which meant the planet wasn't as empty as the surveys had indicated. As he approached the entrance, a figure emerged from the shadows within. Marcus froze, his hand instinctively moving to the plasma pistol at his side. But the weapon fell forgotten as he took in the sight before him. She was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Her skin held a golden luminescence that seemed to come from within, and her long dark hair moved as if stirred by an unfelt breeze. She wore flowing robes of deep crimson that complemented her otherworldly beauty, and her eyes, violet and piercing, seemed to look straight through him. "You are far from home, wanderer," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality that made his chest tighten. She spoke perfect English, though her accent carried notes he'd never heard before. My ship crashed," Marcus managed, suddenly aware of how disheveled he must look. "I didn't know anyone lived here." She stepped closer, and he caught a scent. Like desert flowers and warm spice, few know of our existence. We prefer it that way. Her gaze traveled over his face with an intensity that made him feel exposed. "I am Zara, and you, Marcus Reed of Earth, are bleeding." He looked down, surprised to see blood seeping through his flight suit from where a piece of shrapnel had caught his shoulder during the crash. More surprising was that she knew his name. "How did you? Your thoughts are loud," she said with a slight smile, gesturing for him to follow her into the temple. "My people are telepathic, though we try not to intrude. Your pain, however, calls out like a beacon." The interior of the temple was cool and dimly lit by crystals embedded in the walls. Zara led him to a circular chamber where water bubbled up from a natural spring. She began tending to his wound with practiced efficiency, her touch surprisingly gentle. "You came here to die," she observed, not looking up from her work. Marcus stiffened. "I came here for peace." "Sometimes they are the same thing." Her fingers brushed against his skin as she applied some kind of healing salve, and he felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the medicine. "But I do not think death is what you truly seek. You don't know me." Meet his eyes then, and he felt something pass between them, a connection deeper than words. "Perhaps not. But I know the shape of grief, Marcus Reed. It has carved hollows in your soul." As the healing salve worked its magic, Marcus found himself studying her face, memorizing the curve of her cheek, the way her lips curved when she concentrated. When had he last noticed such details about another person? "Why are you helping me?" he asked. "Because," she said, her hand lingering on his now-healed shoulder. "Sometimes the desert sends us exactly what we need when we need it most." Part 2. Sacred Bonds and Forbidden Touch. The next morning, Marcus awoke on soft cushions in a chamber filled with gentle light. For a moment, he forgot where he was, then memory flooded back, along with the intoxicating scent of desert blooms. Zara appeared in the doorway carrying a tray of strange but delicious-looking food. "Your ship can be repaired," she said, settling beside him with fluid grace. "But it will take several days. The sandstorms have been fierce this season." Marcus accepted the food gratefully, surprised by the complex flavors. What is this place? Exactly. The Temple of Eternal Sands. My people built it thousands of years ago as a sanctuary for travelers, though few find it now. She watched him eat with those unsettling violet eyes. It is also where I come to escape the expectations of the palace. Palace. A shadow crossed her features. I am what you might call royalty, though the title feels more like a chain than an honor. Marcus set down his food, studying her more carefully. Now that he looked, there was something regal in her bearing, an unconscious authority in the way she moved. What kind of expectations? Kind that involve marrying someone. I have never met to secure an alliance with a neighboring world, she said bitterly. The ceremony is in 1 month. Something twisted in Marcus's chest at her words. And you don't want to? I want to choose my own path. She moved closer, her hand finding his. My people believe that the heart knows its own truth, but politics often overrides such simple wisdom. Her touch sent electricity up his arm. Zara. Show me, she whispered, her telepathic abilities picking up on his thoughts. Show me what it means to choose. Marcus hesitated for only a moment before cupping her face in his hands. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, but when she responded with surprising passion, all his carefully maintained walls crumbled. She tasted like starlight and promises, and when she pressed closer, he felt more alive than he had in years. They broke apart, both breathing hard. This is dangerous, he murmured against her forehead. Everything worthwhile is dangerous. Her fingers traced the line of his jaw. Besides, who is to know? The temple keeps its secrets. As if to emphasize her point, she waved her hand and the crystal lights dimmed to a warm amber glow. She began to undress with unself-conscious grace, her golden skin seeming to glow in the soft light. Marcus had thought himself beyond such desires, but watching her move was like watching magic itself. When she returned to him, skin against skin, he marveled at the way she fit perfectly against him, as if they had been designed for each other. Their lovemaking was slow and reverent, a worship of touch and sensation. She showed him how her people expressed intimacy, not just physical but mental, their thoughts intertwining as their bodies moved together. For the first time since his wife's death, Marcus felt complete. Afterward, they lay entwined on the soft cushions, her head on his chest, his fingers threading through her impossible hair. My people have a saying, she murmured. The heart that has been broken knows best how to love. Is that what this is? Marcus asked. Love. She raised her head to look at him, her expression serious. I do not know what else to call it. You came here seeking silence, but you have awakened something. In me that has been sleeping. Marcus pulled her up for another kiss, tasting the truth in her words. Outside, the twin suns were setting, painting the desert in shades of gold and crimson. Inside the temple, two souls from different worlds discovered that some connections transcend species, culture, and circumstance. Stay with me tonight, Zara whispered. Let me show you the wonders of Zarian. Marcus knew he should be thinking about repairing his ship, about the life waiting for him among the stars. Instead, he found himself nodding, lost in the promise of her eyes. 3 days passed like a dream. Zara showed Marcus the hidden wonders of Zarian crystalline caves that sang in harmonious tones. Oases where the water held healing properties, and ancient observatories where her people had charted the stars. For millennia, each revelation drew him deeper into her world, and deeper into feelings he'd thought were dead forever. On the 4th morning, Marcus was working on his ship's engine when he heard the distinctive hum of approaching hovercraft. Zara, who had been gathering healing herbs nearby, suddenly went rigid. They have found me, she whispered, her face pale beneath her golden skin. A sleek vessel settled onto the sand near the temple, and several figures in elaborate robes emerged. The leader, a tall man, with silver hair and ceremonial markings covering his arms, approached with obvious displeasure. Princess Zara, he said in a voice that carried clear authority, your father grows concerned by your absence. Marcus felt his world shift. Princess. Zara stepped forward, her bearing suddenly regal and commanding. Hi, Counselor Davon. I am conducting research at the temple, as is my right. The man called Davon's gaze fell on Marcus with undisguised hostility. Research that involves entertaining aliens. The Council will be most interested to hear of this development. The human is a crashed traveler seeking aid, nothing more. But Davon's knowing smile suggested he wasn't fooled, of course. Nevertheless, you will return to the capital immediately. Prince Kael of Zorathea arrives tomorrow for the pre-bonding ceremonies. Marcus watched helplessly as Zara's shoulders stiffened. I am not ready. Readiness is irrelevant. You are the heir to the throne of Zarian, and our alliance with Zorathea is vital to our survival. Davon's tone brooked no argument. The wedding will proceed as planned. After the delegation departed, with Zara, who managed only one desperate backward glance, Marcus stood alone beside his half-repaired ship, feeling as though something precious had been torn from his chest. The desert suddenly seemed vast and empty again. But as the day wore on, dark clouds began gathering on the horizon. By evening, the wind was howling with supernatural fury, driving sand like bullets across the landscape. Marcus took shelter in the temple, remembering Zara's warnings about Zirian's legendary sandstorms. To his amazement, near midnight, a small figure stumbled through the temple entrance, wrapped in a hooded cloak. When she threw back the hood, revealing Zara's face streaked with tears and sand, Marcus felt his heart leap. I escaped during the storm, she gasped, falling into his arms. They think I am safely locked in my chambers, but I cannot bear the thought of marrying someone I do not love. Marcus held her tightly, breathing in her familiar scent. How long do we have till the storm passes? A day, perhaps two. She looked up at him with desperate eyes. Make love to me, Marcus. Let me have this memory to hold on to. They came together with fierce urgency this time, their bodies expressing everything words couldn't capture. Out! The storm raged outside while they created their own tempest within the temple walls. Marcus mapped every inch of her golden skin with his lips, memorizing the way she moved beneath him, the soft sound she made when he touched her in just the right way. I love you, she whispered as they reached the peak together, her telepathic abilities sharing the full intensity of her emotions with him. And I love you, he replied, meaning it with every fiber of his being. Afterward, as they lay entwined, Zara traced patterns on his chest with her fingertip. There is something you must know. If I refuse the marriage, it will mean war between our worlds. Thousands will die. Marcus caught her hand, pressing it to his heart. There has to be another way, perhaps, she said quietly. But it would require you two do something very dangerous? Tell me. She met his eyes in the crystal light. You would have to challenge Prince Kael for the right to court me. By our laws, any suitor may invoke the trial of worthiness, and if I fail, then you die. And I marry him anyway. She touched his face gently. I cannot ask this of you. But Marcus was already nodding. He had found something worth fighting for, worth dying for. When the storm ends, take me to your father. The capital city of Zarian rose from the desert. Like a golden jewel, its spires and domes gleaming under the twin suns. Marcus had never seen architecture so organic yet grand, buildings that seemed grown rather than built. Their surfaces covered in the same shifting symbols he'd seen at the temple. Zara led him through streets filled with her people, all of whom stared at the strange human with mixtures of curiosity and suspicion. Their golden skin and violet eyes marked them as clearly related, though each had unique patterns of bioluminescent markings that pulsed gently beneath their skin. The palace was magnificent beyond description, but Marcus barely noticed the splendor. His attention was fixed on Zara, walking beside him in full royal regalia, flowing robes of deep purple that complemented her regal bearing, a circlet of precious stones that caught the light, and an expression of determined courage that made his chest swell with pride. The throne room fell silent as they entered. King Theron sat upon a chair carved from a single massive crystal, his presence radiating power and wisdom. Beside the throne stood a figure that made Marcus's jaw clench. Prince Kael of Zorathea was handsome in an alien way. With pale blue skin and silver hair, wearing armor that spoke of military prowess, Father, Zara said, her voice carrying clearly. Through the vast chamber, Present Marcus Reed of Earth, who would invoke the ancient rite of challenge. A murmur ran through the assembled courtiers. King Theron's expression was unreadable as he studied Marcus. You would risk your life. For my daughter, human? I would, Your Majesty, Marcus replied, surprised by the steadiness of his own voice. I love her. Prince Kale stepped forward with a sneer. This is absurd. What could a primitive alien offer that I cannot? The chance for her to choose her own happiness, Marcus said simply. The king was quiet for a long moment. The trial of worthiness has not been invoked for 300 years. It consists of 3 challenges tests of mind, body, and spirit. Many have died attempting them, I understand. And if you succeed, what then? You know nothing of our ways, our politics, our needs as a people. Marcus felt Zara's hand slip into his, giving him strength. Then I will learn. I will spend my life becoming worthy of the trust you place in me. King Theron's gaze shifted to his daughter, and you, Zara, would bind yourself to an alien, forsaking the alliance that could bring peace to our region. I would bind myself to the man who sees me as more than a political tool, she replied firmly. The man who values my happiness above his own safety. The king nodded slowly. Very well. The trial begins at dawn. Tonight, you may spend as you choose. It may be your last. That evening, in Zara's private chambers high in the palace, they made love with desperate tenderness. Every touch carried the weight of possible goodbye, every kiss a promise that transcended mortality. Whatever happens tomorrow, Zara whispered against his skin, know that you have given me the most precious gift, the knowledge of what it means to be truly loved. Marcus pulled her closer, tasting the salt of her tears. We're going to have a lifetime together, I promise you that. She smiled through her tears, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with emotion. My fierce, brave human. How did I exist before you? They held each other through the night, making plans and promises, sharing dreams of a future that might never come. As dawn approached, Marcus felt more ready than he ever had for anything in his life. He had lost one love to circumstances beyond his control. This time, he would fight with everything he had to keep what was his. The first trial took place in the Hall of Mysteries, where Marcus faced a complex puzzle that had been designed to test strategic thinking. Ancient symbols covered a massive wall, and he had to arrange them in the correct sequence to unlock a hidden chamber. Using his knowledge of Earth's mathematics and engineering, combined with Zara's telepathic hints that she somehow managed to slip past her father's mental guards, Marcus solved the puzzle in record time. The second trial was physical. Combat in the arena, where he faced a series of increasingly difficult opponents using traditional Zarian weapons. His military training served him well, but it was the memory of Zara's touch that gave him the strength to overcome adversaries far stronger than himself. The final trial was the most dangerous a journey into the sacred cave of souls. He had to retrieve a crystal from the heart of a labyrinth while resisting the psychic attacks of ancient guardians. As he struggled through visions designed to break his spirit, it was the pure light of his love for Zara that guided him through the darkness. When he emerged, bloodied but triumphant, with the crystal in his hand, the assembled crowd erupted. In amazement, no off-worlder had ever completed the trial successfully. King Theron rose from his throne, his expression one of reluctant admiration. You have proven your worthiness, Marcus Reed, but tell me, what would you sacrifice for my daughter? Everything, Marcus replied, without hesitation. My world, my past, my life, everything I am is hers if she'll have it. Prince Kale stepped forward with fury blazing in his alien eyes. This is madness. Will not be humiliated by a primitive you. Will show respect, King Theron commanded, his voice carrying absolute authority, or you will leave my court immediately. Zara broke free from the ceremonial guards and ran to Marcus, throwing herself into his arms. Their kiss before the entire court sent another murmur through the assembled nobles, but Marcus no longer cared about protocol or politics. The choice is yours, daughter, the king said quietly, but know that there will be consequences. Zorothea will not forgive this slight easily. Zara straightened in Marcus's arms. every inch the princess she was born to be. Then we will face those consequences together. I choose love over alliance, happiness over duty. The wedding took place 3 days later as the twin suns set over. The desert, painting the sky in impossible shades of gold and crimson. Marcus wore robes that Zara had designed for him, their earth blue fabric. A striking contrast to the warm tones favored by her people, as they exchanged vows in the ancient ceremony of bonding. Their minds touched through Zara's telepathic abilities, sharing not just words, but the full depth of their commitment to each other. With this bond, I give you my heart, my soul, my future, Zara whispered, her bioluminescent markings glowing brightly with emotion. With this bond, I pledge my strength, my devotion, my eternal love, Marcus replied, meaning every word with fierce intensity. When they kissed to seal their union, it felt like the joining of not just two people, but two worlds. The crowd cheered. As flower petals made of crystallized light fell from the sky, blessing from the desert itself. That night, in their marriage bed, they made love with a passion that transcended physical desire. It was a celebration of choice, of courage, of the power of love to overcome any obstacle. No regrets? Marcus asked as they lay entwined afterward, watching the stars wheel overhead through the crystal dome of their chamber. Only that we have to wait a lifetime to do this all over again in the next life, Zara replied with a smile that made his heart skip. Marcus pulled her closer, marveling at the turn his life had taken. He had come to Zarian seeking silence and solitude, running from pain and loss. Instead, he had found love, purpose, and a future brighter than any star. Outside their window, the desert sang its ancient songs under the light of Zarian's twin, moons, and somewhere in its vastness. Other wanderers might be discovering that sometimes the greatest adventures begin. When we stop running from life and start embracing everything it has to offer, the story continues with their adventures as they work together to bridge the gap between their worlds. But that is a tale for another day. For now, it is enough to know that love, when it is true and fought for, really can conquer worlds.